Alright, so I'm about to review a franchise that's pretty infamous, uh, well, from the 2010s, or should I say Insidious? Insidious, the first one. Just finished watching 1 and 2, and I've always liked them, but I just finished watching them, for uh, review sake, so I obviously paid a lot more attention to them. And they're they're impressive. They're they're I enjoy them for sure. They have flaws. They have flaws. I've seen 1 and 2. I'm gonna review 3 and 4. 3 sooner than 4 because I don't own 4. So I'm gonna have to either buy 4 or find it on a streaming service or something like that. But I recently just picked up 1 to 3, which are my favorites anyway. I didn't care for 4 much the last time I saw it. But yeah, starting with the original Insidious, it's a great horror film. Insidious is written by Lee Winnell, who he was involved in like the Saw movies and all that, and it was directed by James Wan, who also was involved in all the Saw movies and not all of them, but the first one and then a few others after that. He produced some, he wrote some. Same with Lee Winnell, yada yada. But he directed this one, and Lee Winnell wrote it, and like I said, it's good. And he directed the first 2, and then Lee Winnell directed the third, which I'll get to. And it's see what I find great about the this franchise is I feel like they're doing something for this generation what Universal Monsters did for the 30s and the 40s. They're taking the ghost concept, the poltergeist concept, the haunting concept, and they're revamping it into a modern take. You could say modern. This film was made in 2013, right? 2010. Earlier than I thought. 2010. So just starting the 2010s, and they're kind of they're see, this is a film that is going to be a classic in like 20 years or 30 years. Like people are going to look back on this film like they look back on Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Generations to come will look at Insidious as that kind of film, like that kind of classic film. And I think I think James Wan and I think Lee Winnell are kind of inventing a modern day classic, pretty much with their visions, with what the kind of films that they produce and direct and whatnot. I loved what's it called. The Invisible Man, and I know that Lee Winnell is starting to create a new generation of Universal monster movies as well, and you can tell that this is kind of like the predecessor of that. So it makes sense that he would be either writing or directing Universal classic monster films as remakes. It makes perfect sense. But yeah, it's a great film. It has its problems, and I'm gonna get into that. There's some big ones for me, anyway. But starting with the good and then ending off with what didn't really resonate for me. Good. Shot beautifully. Cinematography, A plus. He got cameramen that knew exactly what they were doing. 100%. Like, nailed it. Creepy music, creepy atmosphere, nailed. Nailed. This is like Halloween movie 101. If you're creeped out by poltergeists, like ghosts, like presences, like possessions, stuff like that, like exorcist kind of stuff, like what's the other one? Poltergeist, obviously. Poltergeist, the Changeling, if you like the Changeling. Like, this is like that kind of vibe, but obviously much more modernized. And the atmosphere is definitely nailed with the music and with the camera work. 100% A plus. I loved it all when it comes to that. Rose Byrne, all the acting. Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson, who plays Josh, and even the kid. The kid was great. I loved him. Lin Shay, Scream Queen. I mean, you can't argue with Lin Shay. She delivers, man. I think this made her career. As a matter of fact, like, she had one beforehand, but like this is what people know Lin Shay from. It's Lin Shay, Insidious. She's the lady. What would what would you call her? A I don't even know I guess you could call her. I guess you could call her a medium. Um, yeah, I think that's the best description that you could give her is a medium. Although she doesn't like, she's not a like she's not she's not a full medium. She's a little bit more like she actually can like transition into the what she calls the further, or which is basically like an older dimension beyond this world kind of thing. So she pretty much is a medium, but I think she's a more like advanced medium, and I don't really know what word to use to describe her as that, but basically that's what she is, a medium. We'll just stick with medium. And yeah, so I mean, this is a spoiler discussion, so I'm assuming everybody watching this video has seen Insidious. If not, I'm going to be getting into some things that are spoilers. So if you want to watch the film, go watch the film, then come back. If you don't care and you just want to listen to the review, knock yourself out. All good. So yeah, creepy music, awesome. Cinematography, awesome. The only thing that I have, like, the film is pretty much perfect. The only thing I have negative is the comic relief. James Wan's comedy doesn't resonate with me. It feels so thrown in, like, just thrown in. Like, there's no room for it. It's so forced. I don't understand it. The film is going through one kind of theme and vibe, and it has this presence, this tone to it, and then he throws in this comical relief that comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't fit. Like, it's with the two like, I call them Ghostbusters characters. They're literally like it's a full horror film, 98%, and then 2% they just throw in these couple guys who are basically Ghostbusters, and they act like Ghostbusters, and they talk like Ghostbusters. It's just it annoys me. It annoys me because the vibe of the film is so creepy, and the atmosphere is so disturbing and chilling, and it gives, like, it's the thing from nightmares. Like, pretty much the entire film is a night, like, it's something you would think that you would like have a nightmare about, and then they just or James Wan or Lee Winnell, I guess, because he wrote the movie, throws in these Ghostbuster characters, and it's like, why? Why? It throws off the whole vibe. See, like there's films that do it good, but I guess Lee Winnell and James Wan, they just maybe I'm not trying to like diss their writing or filmmaking whatever, but like with Eli Roth when he did Cabin Fever, I love it. The comedy's hilarious. It fits. It fits. It just it's a vibe that fits. Scream, great one. Cabin in the Woods, awesome. Like masterpiece, blending horror and comedy. Masterpiece. This one didn't do it. It just didn't work. Like the film would be perfect if they just cut those two characters out of the, or at least wrote them in a more serious direction, not make them. Halloween 5 failed. That's another one. Halloween 5, they had those stupid cops because they wanted to make the cops idiots. It doesn't fit with the film. So Halloween 5 is another one that did it wrong. But there's lots of films that blend horror and comedy and do it perfect. And this is just not one of them. And because they were going like in such an amazing direction with like paranormal thriller horror vibes, it seemed to come out of nowhere. And that's basically all I gotta say. And the other thing, the only other negative is the way they designed the villains, the demons. The one main demon looks like Darth Maul from Star Wars, like red face, black makeup. It's not that scary. It's not that scary. So that's the two main things. It's the comic relief that didn't work, and the demons just don't really look that scary. But the it's still a scary film. It's just when those scenes come up, it's like, where did that come from? Like that's my main complaint. Is it's just like, why is that necessary? It doesn't make any sense because everything else is so perfectly horror central, and the comedic relief just doesn't work for me. That's I'm giving my review. Maybe some people love it. Great. I if you love it, that's awesome. Like we're here to discuss cinema. I'm here to discuss cinema. I love discussing cinema. I love it. I love it. I will never disagree with you if you have an opinion on something. Okay, my favorite film in the world is Shame, directed by Steve McQueen III. That's my favorite film in the world. If you despise Shame, directed by Steve McQueen III, starring Michael Fassbender and blanking. She just Carey Mulligan, who just played in Promising Young Woman, who was nominated for Best Actress. Favorite film of all time. If you hate that film, I'm not going to argue with you. You hate the film, whatever. It's the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Why would I care? That's you have an opinion on the film. I think it's the greatest film I've ever seen in my life. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's marvelous. So if you think it's the worst film you've ever seen, why would I care? Like, why would I judge you for that. Like you know, like that's how I am as a film fan. You know, I'm gonna love things that other people are gonna hate, and I'm gonna hate other things that other people are gonna love. So, uh, jeez, I haven't even covered like I think I covered like a quarter of my notes. Not even. I did find that the younger son, what's his name, Foster, he wasn't utilized too much at the beginning of the film, which I found kind of strange because they could have built on his character a lot more, but they didn't. They didn't until the main character, the main boy, Dalton, went into a coma, and then they started to focus on Foster, and Foster was like the younger brother or whatever, and then they started to focus more on the Rose Byrne's character. What's her name? Renee. Renee, and then she had a another child. I think her name was Kelly, and had like a baby girl, and and then they started to focus more on those characters afterwards, like post coma, and I just found that kind of strange that they didn't build him up like before Dalton went into the coma, but maybe that was part of the whole. You know, like we're focusing on Dalton and then we're gonna focus on everybody else. Could have been that. This is a film that utilizes jump scares perfectly. Like, this is the kind of film, if you are a film student, that you want to watch and you want to understand how jump scares are done well, not not stupid, not you know, just jump scares for the sake of jump scares. This one utilizes the jump scares and puts them in the right places and films them properly. See, one of my favorite films that I've ever seen, and it's a low budget film. I'm blanking on his name again. It's called Absentia. He directed. He's huge. He directed Doctor Sleep. He directed. It's. I think his name is Matt something. Directed. What's it called? Uh, Another possession movie. Oculus? No, not. Yeah, he directed Oculus. Oculus and Jesus, what's that friggin' movie? Um, Ouija, Origins of Evil. He directed the second Ouija. There's Ouija, and this guy who directed the movie. Oh my god, I blank so much. Who directed Absentia? Directed Ouija, Origins of Evil, and he directed Doctor Sleep, and he directed that series on Netflix. Again, blanking. Um, if you look him up, you know who I'm talking about. Just look up Ouija 2 Origins of Evil, you know who I'm talking about. He directed this series and the films that I just mentioned. So you'll find him. You'll find him. Just look him up. He knows how to direct jump scares. He knows how to direct jump scares perfectly. And so does James Wan. And that's one of the big positives that I have about this film. For anybody who's seen the film, like, you know what it's about. It's not a complicated story. Uh, it's, you know, a kid goes into a coma, which seems like a coma, but he's not showing the symptoms of a coma that it would be like. So the doctors really don't know what's going on. He's in a sleep mode, but he's not in like, he can't be diagnosed as in a coma because he doesn't fit the criteria or the symptoms of being in one. So, and then the parents are trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and then they come across Lin Shaye eventually, and they come across these Ghostbusters idiots who know Lin Shaye, and like I said, they all they had to do would be written better, or just not be put in there at all, because the rest of the film, it plays out so perfectly as a creepy thriller horror movie that they just they're so out of place. But that's just my opinion. And then yeah, Lin Shaye, he and the big thing about this series too, uh, carrying on to the further films, they kill her off in the first film. Elise, played by Lin Shaye, she's one of the biggest parts of Insidious, and they kill her off in the first film, and then they made three others. So I'll get to the second one. I'm going to be reviewing it too. I'm going to be reviewing all of them, and basically they start to make them into like prequel and whatnot. But it was kind of like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that, because it's like, why would you kill off one of the greatest characters you have going in the first film? Like it's pretty nutty, I think. But the third act was cool. I liked the creepiness level of it. Like I said, the demons, they don't always look very scary, but the way the film is shot, James Wan knows what he's doing when he's shooting a film, like 100%. He knows how to direct a film. He knows how to put the camera and where to put it. The scene where Rose Byrne is taking out the garbage, Elise, and she's taking out the garbage, and the film follows like through the windows, and then she sees like this kid demon person in her house, and then she comes back in the house, and then he's gone, and then because she's playing a record, like a vinyl, it changes music, and like the vinyl switches music, and she's like, like dumbstruck. She's like, what the fuck just happened? And it's really, it has a creepy atmosphere, and that's the biggest gripe that I have, and I'll keep mentioning with the comic relief, because the comic relief just didn't work, man. Like, I loved it in Cabin Fever. It was perfect. It here I I don't know. I guess James Wan obviously wanted to he has his own humor. It just doesn't resonate with me. That's all. But that doesn't take away anything from the film, because the film is brilliant. I think it's pretty much a horror masterpiece, and like I said, it's gonna be a film that's going to be as classic as like something like Psycho or something like that. But it's gonna take time to become that classic. Like, it's gonna take a good 20, 30, maybe even 40 years. But people will be looking at Insidious and being like, yeah, like that was 2010. Like, that, just like people look back on Psycho and it's like, yeah, that was 1960. So it's gonna be one of those. I think. But we'll see. I don't know. I'll be friggin' probably in my 70s by then. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like to listen to my film reviews, and I will be back for plenty more. Until then, I will chat with you later. So cheers. Take care.